The world was celebrating Christmas until soldiers suddenly appeared from the year 2051 with a terrifying warning. Humanity was about to go extinct. Dan Forrester is a former Green Beret trying to build a peaceful life with his wife and young daughter. During the FIFA World Cup, millions of people are watching the match live when glowing portals suddenly open in the stadium. Armed soldiers jump out and shock the entire world with an unbelievable message. They have come from the future. 30 years from now, humanity is losing a brutal war against deadly alien creatures called white spikes. Almost everyone on Earth has already been wiped out. The future has only one hope left. People from the present must travel forward in time and fight. Within days, a worldwide military draft begins, and soon, Dan receives the call that will change his life forever. The future doesn't need volunteers, it needs survivors. Dan Forrester receives the official draft notice only days after the world learns the terrifying truth. The future is collapsing, and millions of civilians are now being forced to fight a war they know nothing about. Dan has no choice. He hugs his young daughter, promises he'll come back, and leaves his family behind, unsure if he'll ever see them again. At the military processing center, thousands of frightened recruits stand in endless lines. Some are teachers, some are office workers. Others have never even touched a weapon, yet all of them are expected to fight the deadliest war in human history. Military officers explain how the time bridge works. The technology only connects to fixed points in time. The present day in the year 2051, nothing before, nothing after. Then they reveal another disturbing fact. Only people who are already destined to die before 2051 can be drafted into the future. That rule prevents dangerous changes to the timeline. The recruits are quickly equipped with rifles, body armor, medical kits, and basic combat gear. There is almost no training. There simply isn't enough time. Before anyone can fully understand what they're facing, Dan and his squad are loaded onto the jump platform. The countdown begins. 3, 2, 1. In a flash of light, hundreds of soldiers disappear. But something immediately goes wrong. A malfunction causes the jump coordinates to fail. Instead of arriving safely at the military base, the soldiers appear thousands of feet above a destroyed city. Men and women scream as they fall through the sky. Many crash into buildings before they even reach the ground. Only a handful survive by landing inside the rooftop swimming pool of a nearby skyscraper. Disoriented but alive, Dan quickly gathers the remaining survivors. The city around them is almost completely destroyed. Burned buildings, abandoned streets. Smoke rising from every direction, radio communication finally comes through. Their mission isn't to win the war, their mission is simple. Rescue a team of scientists trapped inside a research laboratory before the alien creatures find them. The squad begins moving carefully through the silent streets. Every corner feels dangerous, every sound could mean death. As they enter the abandoned building, they discover signs of a violent battle. Broken walls, blood everywhere, bodies scattered across the floor. But the scientists are nowhere to be found. Then, a terrifying scream echoes through the building. Something is moving in the darkness, and for the first time, Dan comes face to face with the creatures that push humanity to the edge of extinction. They are faster, stronger, and far more terrifying than anyone imagined. Dan and his squad enter the research building, expecting to find survivors. Instead, they hear terrifying screams echoing through the dark hallways. Within seconds, the deadly aliens known as white spikes attack from every direction. The creatures move unbelievably fast, climb walls with ease, and kill soldiers in seconds. Most of Dan's team is wiped out almost instantly. Barely escaping with a few survivors, Dan finally reaches the scientist, but there isn't much time. The entire building is now surrounded by hundreds of white spikes. Their only chance is to jump from the rooftop before the creatures tear them apart. Now surviving the escape is almost impossible. Dan and the remaining soldiers rush through the collapsing research facility as the terrifying white spikes close in from every direction. The scientists quickly reveal why they stayed behind. They weren't trying to save themselves, they were trying to save humanity. After years of research, they had finally captured a live female white spike and extracted a mysterious toxin that could kill the species. But before the formula could be completed, the laboratory was overrun. Now the only surviving sample must be taken back to the military command. Without it, humanity has no future. As explosions shake the building, Dan and his squad fight room by room. Bullets slow the monsters down, but they refuse to stop. The creatures leap across walls, crash through windows, and attack with terrifying speed. Several soldiers sacrifice themselves so the scientists can escape. Outside, the streets are already filled with thousands of white spikes. Military helicopters cannot land because the area is completely surrounded. The only escape route is the rooftop. Dan and the survivors race upstairs while the creatures chase them floor after floor. Just as they reach the roof, the rescue helicopter finally appears. Everyone begins climbing aboard, but before the helicopter can take off, a massive female white spike suddenly jumps onto the rooftop. And like the others, this one is bigger, stronger, and far more intelligent. It tears through the soldiers within seconds. Dan risks his own life to distract the monster while the scientists board the helicopter with the toxin sample. The pilot barely manages to lift off as the female creature launches itself toward the aircraft. The helicopter escapes, but the battle is far from over. Dan realizes something terrifying. Saving the future won't be enough unless they discover where these monsters originally came from. Dan is finally taken to the military command center, where he meets the leader of the entire operation. To his complete shock, the commander is his own daughter, Mori. She has spent years fighting this war after watching humanity fall apart. Mori explains that the toxin isn't complete yet. To finish it, they need blood from the most dangerous creature on Earth, the female white spike. Together, they launch one final mission into the heart of the alien nest. But the moment they enter, everything goes horribly wrong. They finally found the queen. Now they just have to survive long enough to escape with her blood. The team enters the alien hive as quietly as possible. Thousands of sleeping white spikes cover the walls and ceiling. One wrong move, and everyone will die. Mori carefully approaches the massive female white spike. She injects a sedative and quickly draws a blood sample. For a few seconds, everything seems to go perfectly. Then suddenly, the queen opens her eyes. Within seconds, every white spike in the nest wakes up. The entire hive explodes into chaos. Dan grabs Mori, and the team runs for the extraction point while hundreds of creatures chase them through the collapsing city. Soldiers sacrifice themselves to slow the aliens down. Explosions destroy entire buildings, but the white spikes keep coming. The rescue helicopter finally arrives. Everyone rushes aboard with the blood sample. Just as they think they've escaped, a massive explosion hits the aircraft. The helicopter loses control and crashes into a ruined skyscraper. Dan and Mori barely survive. Mori is badly injured. She hands Dan the completed toxin. Then she reveals a heartbreaking truth. Their future cannot be saved anymore. The war is already lost, but there is still one chance. Dan must return to the present and stop the invasion before it ever begins. Mori looks at her father one last time. She tells him not to repeat the mistakes that destroyed their family. Moments later, the future collapses. Everything around Dan begins disappearing. Time itself starts breaking apart. Dan returned to the present. But now he had to find where the aliens came from before Earth's future was erased forever. Back in the present, nobody believes Don's story. The future war is over, but the real battle hasn't even started. Using the clues Mori left behind, Dan discovers a shocking secret. The white spikes didn't arrive on Earth in the future. They had been hiding on Earth all along, buried deep beneath the frozen ice for thousands of years. Now Dan gathers a small team and travels to the icy mountains of Russia because if they fail this mission, humanity will never get a second chance. The future was saved, but the real war hadn't even started. One mistake, and humanity would disappear forever. Dan realizes the female white spike they captured is the key to destroying every alien. Scientists begin creating a deadly toxin that can kill the entire species. But there is one problem. The aliens already exist on Earth. They simply haven't awakened yet. Dan remembers something from the future. The aliens didn't arrive in spaceships. They were already trapped inside an ancient frozen ship buried beneath Arctic ice. Global governments refuse to believe him. Nobody is willing to launch another mission, so Dan decides to do it himself. Dan gathers his father James, Charlie, and a small team. Using clues from volcanic ash and satellite records, they locate the crashed alien ship beneath the ice. After hours of drilling, they finally uncover the enormous spacecraft. Inside are hundreds of sleeping white spikes. One wrong move could wake them all. The team quietly injects a toxin into every sleeping alien. Everything seems successful until one alien suddenly wakes up. Within seconds, the entire ship erupts into chaos. Explosions shake the ice. White spikes attack from every direction. Charlie sacrifices himself to help the others escape. James fights hand-to-hand with the massive female white spike. Dan finally injects the last dose of toxin directly into her body. She screams, then collapses. Every remaining alien dies, ending, humanity survives. The future war never happens. Dan returns home and hugs his daughter, because this time, he didn't just save the future. He changed it forever. If you enjoyed this story, follow ReelHunt for more sci-fi movie recaps.